Hello. So what I want to do right now is introduce this little Patton Robotics feeler board and talk to you about how to actually assemble it if you bought this as a kit. Okay. Now, if you haven't seen it before, it's a simple little board. You can see I've got a little piece of code running right now, and if I bump this feeler or this feeler, it lights the light, and of course it lets the teensy know which feeler is being bumped. Okay, so I can use this to help me navigate some of the blind spots if I'm using other sensors. So ultimately we need to get this guy assembled. So let me pause this, gather the parts, and we'll talk about actually assembling it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I think I've gathered all the parts that I'm going to need. Of course, I've got the board itself, which we're going to do the soldering onto. If you're a George School student, you're probably going to have one of these templates laying around just to make your job a little bit easier. It's not absolutely necessary, but it does help hold the pins nice and straight. I've got two 10K resistors. Now I know that's going to make your LEDs dim, but it's a nice resistor for holding a pin high, so I like using a 10K for this. I've got two different LEDs, a red one and a green one. I've got some miscellaneous hardware here, a couple of cap screws, some washers, nylon spacers, and some nuts we're going to use to hold the wires on, and an assortment of header pins. Now, I've got a cluster of yellow ones here. I have lots of pieces of yellow left over from making motherboards. You do not have to use yellow. It doesn't really matter. Just that in this case, I have a lot of them, so I'm going to use yellow. And I will say that there's actually two different conformations for the hookup headers. So we can either put in straight headers like this, okay, which are going to stand straight up, which is really pretty nice. Or we can use right angle ones. And I think in this case, I'm going to use right angle ones, okay. So this cluster of three, either the straight or the right angle, are ultimately going to go here. So I'm going to set my straight ones aside because I'm not going to use these today. Okay. So normally you want to start with the lowest component first. I find that actually this board, especially if you're using this template, it's better to start with the tallest components first, and then it's easy to add the lower ones in. There's plenty of room. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to start populating this, and oddly enough, sometimes we load the wood first, but I think in this case, loading the board first. So I'm going to go ahead and put the groups of two. There should be 4 groups of 2. And I'm going to need my glasses. Hold on one second. Of course, I could be doing this on the screen. Let me try it on the screen first. See if I'm going to use these 4 groups. There's that one. And that one. Okay. And then we have 2 more here. Oops, one fell out. All right, so those guys are placed in. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and use right angle ones. So I'm going to lay these in here like so. In this case, again, you can use the straight ones. And the last 2, there's a lot of flexibility. I have a whole number of holes depending on the angle that you want it to be at. I'm actually going to suggest, at least for my students at George School, we're going to use this thin wire, okay? And we can bend and flex it a little bit. So we're going to put it on the outermost edge, way out here, okay? And it happens to work out to be a nice distance for contact. Again, though, it's up to you. You can actually put in any one of these holes. They're all tied together commonly at the bottom of the board. So I'm going to set that like that. And then like this. And then this guy, it doesn't matter. It's symmetrical. But I'm going to put it on like this. And I'm going to pause it for a moment and line this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got it lined up. There was no way I could do that without my glasses, so I had to pause it. And you can see that it's sandwiched in there really nicely. Okay, and there's room for this header on the side, even though it's bent at 90 degrees. It's actually a good height. It's nice because we can flip this board over and we're going to hold it in place. Now, if you're just doing this without one of these templates, it's not that hard. You may want to use some kind of soft clay or something like that to hold the parts in, or just be diligent. I like to do it on the back of a mouse pad. It kind of holds it nicely so we get a little bit of frictional surface. So next I'm going to go ahead and solder it. I have a complete set of tools here. I've got a digital meter. Mine is currently set at 390 degrees, but I don't know if I totally trust the probe. I have some lead-free solder that I'm going to be using, and of course I've got a pad for cleaning my tip. So let me see if I can do this in the video. This will be a bit of a challenge. It's hard to solder with something right in front of you, blocking your view like this camera. Okay, so let me give this a try. I'm going to go ahead and place my soldering iron down. What I want to do is I want to make sure that the tip, okay, is in contact with both the base metal and the pin at the same time. So I'm going to come down here. I want both of these to get hot, and I'm going to come into the side and I'm going to melt it in like so, and I should get, whoops, that was a pretty lousy one. I actually filled in a hole, which I shouldn't have done. This actually looks good though. Okay, again, this is hard to do with a camera in front of me. This looks great. It looks a little bit like a candy kiss. Okay, nice little pile of solder. I'll see if I can do a better job here. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to make contact with both the pin and the base metal, and then I'm going to bring my soldering iron in right to the intersection. Kind of sucks in. There we go. That's a really nice joint. All right, let me continue going on. Contact both the base metal and pin. Bring the solder in low, right at the intersection, like so. Okay, and I get a nice solder joint like so. All right, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to pause this. There's no reason for you to watch all of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Everything is nice and soldered. Everything has a nice little peak. The only bad one, of course, is right here, and I'm going to blame that on the fact that there's a camera in front of me. It's hard to actually solder on an image on a screen. But other than that, it looks pretty good. So now we can take and disassemble this, and we're going to put the two 10K resistors right here, like so. Resistors have no polarity. It doesn't matter, but I do like to go for aesthetics. So I'm going to make my resistors with opposing bands. So in other words, the gold on both of these, the gold band is going to be toward the outer side of the board. So I've got the gold here and a gold there. Again, it doesn't matter. I just try to make it look a little nicer. And once again, I'm going to put this on top. It helps hold it in place. And then I'll go ahead and put a little solder. I'm only going to put a little bit of solder on one. It is possible for it to move out just a bit, so I'm going to put solder there and there. And then I'm going to confirm that my resistor really hasn't fallen down any, although it couldn't fall far with that board there. It looks great. It's still nice and flat. And I will finish the soldering on this, like so. And what I did forget to bring over here are flush cut pliers. So let me pause this. I'll be right back. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and use the flush cutters on the flat side toward the board. Don't push super hard. You don't want to get this thing like, cut way off. You just want to trim it down so that it's a nice smooth, well, nice little bump on there. Okay, you can still feel it, little hook, but not bad. It's not sticking out. Now, last but not least, the LEDs. I'm usually going with red on the right. In this case, you can see we have the flat side of the LED. All right, that means that this is going to be the ground, which means it's going to be the short wire. And if you look carefully, maybe if I get this just right, there'll be a flat on this hat. So I'm going to put the flat, short wire toward the outer edge. And I'm going to do the same with the green, the flat, short wire toward the outer edge. Okay, this actually will fall right through, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna, well, it actually helps hold it flat, so we'll stick this here. on here very quickly. And again, the holes in these templates are big enough for the LED to go through. So do not solder more than one at a time. There's a good chance the LED will slide out some. So I'm going to put one there just to tack it down. One there, tack it down. And I'm going to look, and sure enough, my LEDs have slid. Okay, so while applying gentle pressure with holding the board like so, applying gentle pressure with this finger, I'm going to reheat this joint and push that LED up. So now it's flush. Do the same with the green, gently pushing, reheat the joint. And I can't see which one it is. There we go. Okay, now it's flush. And now that it's good and flush, I'm going to do a little bit further. There we go. Now we can go ahead and finish off the soldering. A little bit there. A little bit here. And then I'm going to go back and touch up where I heated it and pushed it through. Like so. And I have to look at these with my eyes. I've done better, but they're okay. And we're going to cut them off with the flush cutters. Okay. Let me pause this, get these wires ready. I'll be right back. Okay, you see what I've done here is I've already made one. I took a 12-inch length of wire like this, a full 12-incher. I cut it in half. Okay, so I get two 6-inch pieces. And then holding it just on the end with a pair of needle nose pliers, like so, okay, I then wrapped it around most of the way, making a loop, like so. So now I have two loops, okay? And what I can do then is you take a screw, bring it up from the bottom, like so, put a spacer on top. Then you want to have it so that the loop see what actually happens if I have it out here, it goes way out to the front. If I have it like this, it brings it in pretty darn close, and I can easily adjust that with a gentle bend. So hook it this direction. Okay, so my open end is down. I'm going to do just one of these, and then we're going to run out of video time. And I'm going to put a washer on and a nut. And like so. Okay. And then generally speaking, you have to be careful. Put a little gentle pressure up on it while you're tightening it by hand. That'll hold it away. And then you have to get your wrench and kind of tighten it down. Sometimes it tries to bend itself back, but it's actually still not. It's good. Not making contact. I can give this a gentle little bend, try to get a little bit more optimized. And now you can see I've made a switch. Okay. You repeat the process for the other side. Stick the screw through the bottom. Put the spacer on. Grab your wire. It should loop down. Okay. Like this. And then from here, I can put the washer and the nut. Okay. Let me pause this, finish it off, and then we'll end it. Hold on one sec. Okay, there you go. It's all put together. I've tightened up the nuts on the bottom. You can see the wires laying between the two guides. It is just barely off the connecting pin. Okay, on both sides, so it'll work just fine as a switch. And hopefully you're all set and ready to go, and I'll see you again soon in another video showing you how to actually use it. Talk to you soon.